So I'm going to turn the microphone over to someone who has been contributing to Atlantic Business Magazine almost as long as I have. His first column appeared in our March 2006 issue, and he has appeared in every issue ever since. Not once in those 19 years has he tried to use his column to promote his own businesses or business interest or investment, and he does it for free. And thank God for that, because that's the only way we could afford him. So here to introduce tonight's keynote speaker, please welcome the CEO of CFFI Ventures, global thought leader, and our very own devil's advocate, John Risley.
Thank you, Don. Doing it for free reminded me that we should maybe have another discussion about that. So this is a huge honor to introduce our guest speaker. I'm going to give you a very unorthodox introduction to her. I've been around business for over 50 years and being sort of concerned, if you like, about public policy and the direction of the country for probably half of that, 25 years. In my very humble opinion, this country is at a crossroads. I don't know of a time when the country has been so threatened, but at the same time, so poised for success and growth. We've got internal challenges. We need to bring the country together. We need to act as a single country, not as a collection of provinces or a series of regions. We need to improve our productivity. We need to get better at innovation. We need to have more confidence in the direction internally of the business to attract the private capital necessary to grow economic activity. Externally, we need to make new friends. We need to build trade relationships. We need the support of our allies, all at the same time without alienating our American friends and figuring out how we manage a difficult administration in Washington. So how are we going to do all of that? We're going to do it under the direction and leadership of our new Prime Minister and his team, one of whom is represented here tonight. And I'm encouraged because I believe that we do really have fresh thinking within the leadership of the country at that level. I think we're going to witness a period of rapid decision-making, risk-taking, a degree of entrepreneurship. We're going to see accountability, and it's our obligation and responsibility to support that risk-taking. Not everything is going to go as it's planned. And why am I so optimistic, and why am I sort of palpable, if you like, with excitement? It is because I think we do truly have I don't think the timing for the growth of the country has ever been better in my lifetime. And the person I'm introducing you tonight, I know reasonably well. I've had the opportunity to work with her for quite a long time, and people around her. She's held in very high respect by her people. She's an incredibly hard worker. She knows more about the files that she holds responsibility for than any of her team members. She's a great relationship builder. I'm incredibly proud to know her, and you should be proud that we were able to bring her here tonight to speak to us and that she's a member of our government. Please help me welcome the Honourable Chrystia Freeland.
I am so happy to be here tonight. What a wonderful evening. What a privilege to be here with you and to be part of this. So thank you very, very much. Ça me fait un tellement grand plaisir d'être ici avec vous ce soir, de voir une communauté qui est si forte, une communauté qui vraiment comprend l'importance de travailler ensemble, l'importance de créer ensemble de prospérité pour nous tous. So it feels to me like every single person in this room knows every single other person in this room, maybe also is related somehow. I grew up in a small town. It has that feeling. So I know all of you know John very well, but I'm going to give you an example of his entrepreneurial flair for risk-taking. He invited me to come here and do this before the election and before the cabinet decision. So just think for a minute, the evening could have a very different flavor had certain things happened otherwise. And John is enough of a gentleman, I don't think he would have withdrawn the invitation. You never know. I said yes with real delight for 3 reasons. The first one is, yay for journalism, yay for magazines. My first career was as a journalist, and it's so important. It's really hard, and today in Canada, it is more important than ever for us to have our own journalism that tells our own stories. So could we just start by giving a real hand to Atlantic Business Magazine? It's tough. It's tough to make a journalism business work, especially one that you maybe bought at the beginning of a pandemic, and I really admire it hugely. Second reason I was so happy to come here tonight is now is a moment for us to celebrate business in Canada. I am not sure Canada's business leaders always feel appreciated enough and thanked enough by our government. So I wanted to be here to say thank you. Thank you for everything you do. You create jobs, you create prosperity, you support communities. We really need you. The work you do is incredibly important, and it is beautiful for me to see business leaders celebrated, and it's a privilege to be part of that celebration. So thanks a lot, business leaders. And then final reason I'm here is just John Risley. How can anyone resist when he asks you to do something? He's a kind of resistance is futile sort of guy. So I had a long, very boring speech written by my department. I decided I wouldn't subject you guys to it tonight. I'm going to start by quoting a line that I'm sure you've heard before. This idea that the Chinese character for crisis is made up of the character for danger and opportunity. Have you heard that line before? Journalists, which I used to be one, even columnists, it's a very beloved trope of columnists, you know, the Chinese character for crisis is danger plus opportunity, go from there. So I was gonna start with that, but I used to actually be a journalist, so I had to check whether this was actually true. Unfortunately, it's a great line. It was first popularized by JFK in a 1959 speech when he wanted to use a crisis as an opportunity. Turns out not to be true. However, it should be true. There should be a Chinese character, or maybe we can invent a new Canadian word that says crisis is actually danger plus opportunity. Et c'est où nous sommes aujourd'hui. Oui, nous faisons face à une grande menace. Comme John a dit, du côté des États-Unis, c'est une menace réelle. C'est une crise. Mais d'autre côté, on a vraiment une grande opportunité aujourd'hui, comme dit le Premier ministre Mark Carney, de bâtir le Canada. So really, that's where we are right now. We're at this moment where there is danger plus opportunity. As John said, the threat we're facing as a country, it's real. The threatened tariffs, the actual tariffs, that is a real thing. But we also have this opportunity, I believe a once-in-a-generation opportunity, to turn that danger into a Canadian Renaissance, into a moment when we come together and build Canada. That is the central commitment of Prime Minister Mark Carney. It's what he said on Tuesday after the swearing-in of his cabinet. A person who I admire very much, former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien, is so excited about this opportunity for Canada that what he likes to say is, you know what? I'm not going to imitate his accent. I'm not good at accents. But what he likes to say is, you know what? This opportunity is so magnificent, and Canadians are so ready to rise to this challenge that one day we're going to actually end up having to give Donald Trump the Order of Canada. I don't go that far, but it is a really magical moment. And really, what I want to say tonight, what I want to exhort everyone here to do, and really plead with everyone here to do, is for us to kind of capture that magnificent patriotic energy which I have felt from coast to coast to coast over the past several months. Like, do you know anyone who doesn't have some kind of elbows up paraphernalia? Maybe it's a t-shirt, a button, a sticker on their computer. Everyone has something. We're so excited. We've realized, like, wow, we have an amazing country. We love our country. We're going to fight for our country. Okay, excellent. But that's not enough. That's just the first step. Now we have to take this moment of national enthusiasm for our country and turn it into building Canada as we have never done before. I really believe we can do it. Nous pouvons et nous devons aujourd'hui saisir l'opportunité que cette crise présente. Nous pouvons le faire, je le sais. So, how can we actually do that? Like, I hope you're going to say, yeah, sounds good, but what does this mean in practice? And I'm going to offer two really specific examples. The first one is something that I never actually thought I would dare to speak to a room of this many people, many wearing fancy outfits, and some having consumed some wine, which is interprovincial trade barriers. Wow, this would have won the prize for most worthy and most boring Canadian idea just a few months ago. I know, like about a year ago, I'm quite a boring, geeky person, and so I like boring, geeky ideas, and about a year ago, I really tried to get people excited. I was like, let's make the budget about cutting down interprovincial trade barriers. Huge eye roll, huge sigh, good idea. It will never happen. Now, that was a real shame because in 2019, the IMF did a study and they found that just removing barriers to interprovincial trade would increase our GDP by 4%. Like, that's huge. That's as much as the damage Trump tariffs might do. So think about it. Wow, what a magical policy. And interprovincial trade barriers, this same study found, amount to effective tariffs inside our country that we impose on ourselves of about 6.9%. It's outrageous. If some other country said, we're going to tariff you by 7%, we would be elbows up. But we do it to ourselves. We've known it for a long time. What is magical about this moment today is removing interprovincial trade barriers has become sexy. Yes, truly, it has. People are ready to do it. People get it. And I do want to offer a shout out to Premier Tim Houston, who has really been leading the charge. Let's give Nova Scotia a hand. And we've seen other premiers really getting involved. You know, we've seen PEI, we've seen New Brunswick, we've seen Ontario. Ontario and Manitoba just yesterday did a deal together. We've seen BC. And, you know, there are sometimes moments in life when something that was impossible the day before suddenly does become sexy. It happened right after COVID with early learning and childcare. I know that you do a Top 25 Women in Business award. And I am a real believer in women. Yeah. And women in business. And I also think it's kind of great to have kids. I have 3 children. They're the most important people in my life. To do that, we need childcare. And for more than 50 years, Canadian women were trying to build a national system of early learning and childcare. Couldn't be done. Everyone knew it was a good idea, couldn't be done. And then suddenly, after COVID, there was this moment when Canadians said, wow, we need to do it. And we've done it. And $10 a day childcare is becoming a reality across Canada. That has, yeah. That has had already a measurable impact on women's labor force participation, and it saves families a lot of money. In my riding, I did say this during the election campaign 1 or 2 times, $14,000 a year per kid. So this is a fabulous policy, only made possible because we had this national eureka moment. Let's have that national eureka moment about interprovincial trade. The Prime Minister has made a ballsy commitment about this, and it is that the federal government will, by July 1st, move to lift all federal obstacles to interprovincial trade. Do it unilaterally. That's the job he's asked me, well, actually told would probably be the right verb, me to get done. And we will do it. Provinces are eagerly getting involved. I want everyone here to also remember we need to be sure that labor mobility is part of it, right? We want to free the beer. Yes, important. It is, and that's something that people can get behind. But we also want to free the nurses, and we want to free the truckers. So let's make this a way that Canada gives back to itself. It doesn't cost us any money to do it. We just have to summon the political will. And I want you to hear tonight that the federal government is committed to free trade in Canada by Canada Day. Let's get it done. We can compensate ourselves by this measure alone the entire cost of the Trump tariffs. So let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Second Build Canada commitment I want to make to you tonight, and I need you to be part of it, is let's get big things built in Canada. Let's build some major projects. Let's build them faster than we are accustomed to doing. The Prime Minister is absolutely committed to doing that. He gets that right now we do have that crisis equals danger plus opportunity moment. He gets that to respond to that danger, we have to build Canada more quickly than ever before. You are going to see him and the federal government pushing harder and faster to facilitate major projects, major nation-building, economy-building projects trade corridor projects, energy projects across the country, and he is going to make that happen. And that is the second thing you are going to see real measurable action on by Canada Day. I've promised the premiers that if we can get free trade in Canada done by Canada Day, we will have a barbecue in my backyard, and we'll throw in major projects too. We'll have to, at the barbecue, I've said we're going to have food, maybe even beer, from every province and territory to people get the idea. So these are really big things. They are ways that we as a country can make real that elbows up slogan, right? That we can do something more than wearing a button or wearing a t-shirt or wearing a baseball cap. I have one that says Canada is not for sale. Premier Ford gave it to me. My son immediately stole it. I love wearing this stuff. It makes me feel great. But let's move from that feeling to actually getting the job done. And that's the final thing I want to say to everyone here. I started by thanking you, and you do really deserve to be thanked. I started by quoting that little bit false thing that JFK said, but he had the right idea. And I want to conclude by quoting another idea of JFK's, which was his great line, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." We're in that kind of a moment, right? And I believe the government has to support all of you in your job-creating, nation-building efforts. For sure we do, and I really am here because I just wanted to say thank you, and I wanted you to feel the love. But to get these big things done, to have free trade in Canada by Canada Day, to get major projects built faster than we have ever done it before. For sure, government has a role to play. And for sure, you're going to need the federal government, provincial governments, municipal governments, Indigenous partners, all to be working together, for sure. But we can't do it alone. It has to be a true national effort. It's going to need business to be enthusiastically involved. It's going to need labor to be enthusiastically involved. We have to work with our Indigenous partners, and we have to work together to make sure Canadians get it, to make sure that Canadians together feel the excitement around what we are doing. We have to build that enthusiasm. Interprovincial trade barriers, the reason that they're still there is not just because politicians are lazy and stupid and incompetent, as I'm sure you often think us to be. It's because there are real interests that are behind each single one of those barriers being there. Lifting them in aggregate will increase our GDP by 4%, but each one that we remove, someone's going to be unhappy. And so, Premier Houston, he needs you guys to support him when people are yelling that he's doing this. He needs you guys to come out and say, and have the people of Nova Scotia say, yeah, this is a really good idea. It's going to make us all richer, and that's what we need. Prime Minister Carney and his Minister of Internal Trade, they need you too. When we do this, we need you to come out and say, yeah, there are going to be some challenges. This stuff is there for a reason. There were people behind putting these barriers up, but let's get together and lift it. So my concluding thought to everyone here tonight is, we are so lucky to be Canadian. Je suis tellement, tellement fière d'être Canadien. Je suis tellement chanceuse d'être canadienne, d'avoir l'opportunité de vivre ici, de travailler ici, d'avoir les enfants ici. Every single one of us is so lucky to be Canadian. We really are. Our country is magnificent and has given each one of us incredible opportunities. But the danger really is real. We're facing a really serious threat from the US, and we have some of our own problems here too. That productivity challenge stuff people talk about, it's real. And so I want to say to everyone tonight, think about that outpouring of patriotism you have been part of. Think about how proud you were when you saw Prime Minister Carney in the Oval Office say, never, like give up our sovereignty, never. Wasn't that great? I was so proud. Now we have to translate that feeling of pride into real action. We have to use that pride, that excitement, that love of country to build our country in a way we have not done for a generation. Alors, merci beaucoup. Je vous apprécie énormément. Allons travailler ensemble pour bâtir le Canada, pour bâtir notre pays magnifique. Let's build Canada together. Thank you very much. And congratulations to all of the amazing business awards winners.